Ever since I can remember, I've wanted a dedicated craft room, especially when I started sewing. And now I finally have the craft room that I've always wanted. Maybe not exactly how I wanted it. So, I haven't worked on this in a few months and I just got back around to it. I reviewed the footage that I had and, well, I imagine my thought process went a little like this. How much should I film? All of it. Really? I don't think I'm gonna need footage of me putting everything away. Film all of it. I'm just gonna delete it when I go to edit it. That's future use problem. I don't know. Do it! Okay. I deleted most of it. So now I'm going to summarize what past me felt necessary to stretch out over 2 hours of mostly useless footage. Starting with storage items. I got a ton of baskets from the thrift store and from my boyfriend's mother, as an aesthetically pleasing way to store items. This basket is actually multi-layered, which I love, and I've already filled it with items that didn't have another home yet. I got these cloth bins and rustic looking crates off of Amazon, and I got these cute boxes with a magnetic lid from Joann's. I had what I thought was a great idea to cover sturdy cardboard boxes with contact paper, but that turned out not to be very efficient. For one thing, it was a pain to do, so it doesn't look all that great. The contact paper is a bit see-through, so you can see the brand through it, so you would have to like cover the box and then cover the box. A roll of contact paper cost me around $11, and I only had enough to do this one box. Meanwhile, these boxes from Joann's are typically 50% off at the beginning and end of the seasons, so they only cost me $10. They're sturdier, they look nicer, and they're much less of a headache, so lesson learned. I got these wine racks off of Amazon for my remnants. I had a remnant purchasing problem for a little bit. I think I calmed that down. A lot of the reason for it was I had this business idea to add pockets to people's existing clothes, and remnants were a cheap and easy way to get the fabric I needed for that. I haven't abandoned that idea, but once I realized that there was more to sewing pockets than just stitching them into the seam, I figured it would be a good idea if I learned a little bit more before I started charging people for it. Anyway, I think this is a cute, organized, and efficient way to store my remnants so that I can see and access them all pretty easily. I chose this basket specifically for mending. It has a sturdy bottom and it fits into this space nicely. You can see it's mostly socks right now. I think I might abandon my sock darning. These socks are at least 10 years old and I bought them from Walmart. They've served their purpose and darning them isn't really like extending their life at all. I'm trying to find an eco-friendly, sustainable sock supplier and just buy more sustainable socks, turn those into rags. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments, because so far I'm not able to find just regular this style socks with like a little bit higher, not quite, you know, at the bottom of the ankle. I like them at the top of the ankle, and just plain. Just plain. Don't want anything fancy. I don't mind designs, but really just want plain socks, and I can't seem to find any. I actually bought a lot of these like storage supplies without actually thinking about what I was going to use them for, and so I didn't know what I was going to use the crates for, but I found that my patterns fit quite nicely into this one. I don't have a full box yet, but I just keep my elastic in there to fill the extra space, and it fits pretty well. They aren't in any sort of order, but there's so few of them that really doesn't matter at this point. Once I get to the point where it does matter, then we'll just work out a better system. I'd like to organize them eventually when I have a lot, similarly to how they do in a store, and just have like a catalog that I can look through and then just have them all in a drawer where I can find them by number. As far as the rest of the boxes, I realized that organizing fabric and notions by type wasn't really efficient for me. When I buy supplies and material, it's usually for something specific. Rather than separate all this, I put everything I need for a specific project into a box. So when I plan to work on a project, I just pull out a box and everything's in there. The fabric, the patterns sometimes not, but for this one, all the notions, the thread, everything, all set, ready to go. Because the boxes are so big, I've grouped some of my projects together by categories that work for me. This is kind of a summer dress, so I put other summer dress projects in here, and I just have them stacked so that they are separate but together. I bet this is really making editing difficult. Why am I like this? I do have fabric and notions and such that is organized by type because it isn't really earmarked for anything. Yeah. I bought this dresser at my local thrift store for $9. I did need to get knobs for up here. They cost $1. And I put fabric in here separated by type just so it's easier to get than it was in the tote. There's brocades down at the bottom, kind of miscellaneous fabrics in the middle, and then all of my shears on the top. I had two big totes and they had most of my fabric in them, but they were kind of unwieldy and unattractive and in the way. So now they are tucked away in my closet, and we have bed sheets in this bottom one, and then some fake fur that somebody gave me, and some other fabrics that they gave me on top. Thank you, by the way. And now for some tips on organizing your own space. Here's past me. And now it's time for tips from a non-expert while she eats her cream of wheat. A long time ago, I gained an interest in interior design. I didn't really do anything with it other than watch a lot of HGTV, but I definitely learned a lot. And I also learned a lot about organizing and making things more functional and accessible. So the tips I have for you are, first of all, and most important of all, know yourself. Sure, it's gonna look great if you put that box of fabric you barely use on the top shelf in your closet. Close the door, you never have to see it. It's probably an ugly box. But are you really gonna go in the closet to get that box every time you need it? Are you? Really? Are you going to put things back if they're a hassle to go and get? Are you going to use the top shelf at all? Ever? Are you going to even remember the things you have if they're tucked away in a box somewhere? But knowing how you work, how you function, is going to be the first step to figuring out what kind of system's going to work for you. Because you can watch all the Marie Kondo's, is that her name? Konda? Marie Kondo? The Spark the Joy lady. You know what I'm talking about, right? If it doesn't spark joy, you know. All the people like that in the world that are telling you what you can do to organize your life, it's not going to help unless you know how you function. Another tip I have for you is to make it pretty. A lot of sewing rooms that you see are just functional, and that's fine. And maybe that works for you, in which case, ignore this tip. But for me, if I make it pretty, I'm more likely to have it all picked up and put away. If it's functional and pretty, I'm gonna keep it clean. If it's just functional, that's hit or miss. And the third tip I have is know your limitations. I'll probably loop back around to this one. once I have actually mastered it, because I haven't. And there were some things that, prior to starting this project, I had already decided I wasn't going to do. I'm not going to paint the walls. Not that painting the walls would be hard. There's really no need to paint the walls because the paint is fresh. It's a color that works with the aesthetic I'm going for, and I want to generally keep it that color. Those are my tips. If you are redecorating your space, maybe not just for sewing, but any space that you need to organize really well, basically just know yourself, make it pretty, and know your limitations. Class dismissed. A big part of my organizational strategy is to make everything as visible and not visible as possible. I know, it's a contradiction. The problem is that if it isn't visible, I forget about it. And if too much is visible at once, it overwhelms me. My solution? Hang a curtain in front of it. It's still visible and accessible, and all I have to do to make it look neat is close the curtain. Another idea I had to make my space functional and cute is to hang some baskets on a tow rope. I got these aesthetic-looking hooks and this thick hemp rope on Amazon. I was going to tie knots in the rope so the baskets didn't slide, but the rope's kind of too thick for that. I don't have a permanent solution yet, but right now I just have safety pins holding them so they don't slide to the middle. I looped the rope on the hooks so that I can take the baskets off if I ever need to. We also added a shelf above the windows as a place to put some added decor and some plants that are toxic to our new little kitten friend. This was a board that we already had for a shelf that we decided not to put up. So 2 birds, 1 stone. We took care of the board and we put up a new shelf. I also got a surprise from my boyfriend who made me this spool rack. So all of my spools of thread can go on here. I got all of my decorative items from thrift stores. It's really easy to find cottagecore style decor since it's considered outdated. I prefer items that have a bit more texture and depth than plain pictures, and I found a lot of items that I'm really pleased with. I got a couple plant hanging hooks from Lowe's to hang a basket that I put my tools in, as well as this lantern that I thrifted. It's actually a Christmas decoration. I won't tell if you don't. I also added this French memo board that I thrifted by using alien tape and sticking it right to my mirrored closet door. Double-sided, and it doesn't leave a mark when you take it off the mirror. I had a voiceover outro that I had put on there, and it was something that I wrote before I was done, and I don't feel like it did it justice. Most of my adult life, I have struggled financially, struggled to get my together. To be here in this room, I put on all this makeup so I could cry, I guess. I see all those pretty pictures on YouTube and Instagram of people who have rooms like this, and I always think, someday I'll have that. But I don't think I ever actually think that I'm gonna have it. To be sitting here looking around. This is mine. This is my sewing space. It looks amazing. And I did this myself. It wasn't some person swooping in and giving me money to make over a room. This was me. It was also my boyfriend. He does so much for me, and just thank you so much. I mean, he made this thread holder. He made it, and he made it in like a week. He helped me put up all the brackets. He put in the ends of my curtain rod. He cut this shelf up here to size because it was too wide. This is really surreal to look around and just take in that this is mine. This is where I get to sew now. It looks so pretty. Thank you all for letting me be a little bit emotional. If you are interested in aesthetic sewing content in an aesthetic sewing room, please do subscribe. I cannot wait to get 2023 started. I have such plans, and this was a big one. And it's honestly, it's better than I imagined. It might have to be a kitten-free zone, though. Until next time.